Hello, welcome to Unspoken History. My name is Keisha. Thank you for joining me today. Today I have a little short video. I want to talk about the 14th Amendment. Um, First, I want to say you should get my book. There's a lot of information in there. Plus, you don't know how long these videos going to be available. We are so dependent on videos and the internet. They can flip that switch anytime they want. They can also ban books whenever they want. However, right now they're not banned. So you should get as many as you can, especially a Bible if you don't have one, before they take those away too. But anyway, when I was doing the research for my book, I was trying to understand, like, the Constitution. How, if we have this Constitution, how come only certain people got rights? So anyway, I'm going to read page 109 in my book. Is chapter 12. It's called Abraham Lincoln and His Civil War Amendments. As a result of the Civil War, the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments were written to protect the ex-slave or Indian, as stated in the Constitution. The 13th Amendment outlaws slavery. The 14th Amendment says all persons born and naturalized are citizens. And the 15th Amendment gave the Negro male the right to vote. Excuse me. Why did our ancestors not have any rights? Why didn't any state, local government, or institution support the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment for over 100 years? To this day, the rights of indigenous people of America, aka Negroes, are being violated, trampled, and blatantly unrecognized. I decided to look at a copy of the Constitution for myself to see how we could have been denied our rights for all these years, and to determine how this had been possible. Just as I was wanting to see a copy, I was blessed with an 1883 copy that I was able to compare to a new copy that I had bought from the Barnes and Noble bookstore in my area. What I noticed, excuse me, excuse me, what I noticed was that Section 2 of Article 1 is changed in the newer version. The way in which it originally reads is not the way it reads today. In the Constitution of the United States People's Cyclopedia, dated 1883, Article 1, Section 2, it reads, Representatives and direct taxes shall be apportioned among the several states which may be included within this union according to their respective numbers, which shall be determined by adding the whole number of persons, including those bound to service for a term of years, that would be the indentured servants, and including Indians not taxed, three-fifths of all other persons. Now, that's the way the first part of the Constitution reads before they wrote the 14th Amendment. So, before they wrote the 14th Amendment, the Indians not taxed were counted as three-fifths. The three-fifths were the ones that were in slavery. You see, the word Negro is not in our Constitution. Why ain't Negro or African in our Constitution? As say, it should say, including Negroes, not taxed, count three-fifths of all persons. Or it should say, including African slaves, not taxed, three-fifths of all persons, all other persons, right? Because if they're in slavery, they're not making any money, so they're not paying any taxes to go toward any representatives. They're not paying no taxes, so they're not being represented. Their representation falls under whoever they were a slave to. So it says, including Indians not taxed three-fifths of all other persons. That's what the 1883 version says. The current version of the 14th Amendment reads like this, and even if you go online and you try to look at the original document, it's been typed up into a version, and this word, including Indians, is exchanged for excluding Indians. Now, you have 100 slaves, you got 50 slaves, you got 70 slaves, you got 1,000 slaves, whatever the case, right? You want to be able to count your slaves so that your numbers are exacerbated. Like we got more representatives in the state of Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Louisiana, wherever, Alabama, Mississippi. We've got more people in our state, so we get more representatives. But those people were not being represented by that representative. They were just counting toward the numbers for that representative, but not being represented by that representatives. So, as I was saying before, if they had brought African slaves over here and put them in slavery, they would have said excluding the Africans, but they didn't. They said exclude the Negroes. And what is a Negro? except for a made up word that somebody made up to place on the people. Right? There's a patent that was a creation of the Negro, or the present way in which we use them. In 1434, that name was made up. And now it wasn't made up. A Negro, it means black in Spanish. I'm just saying it was placed on the people in 1434. The current version of the 14th Amendment reads like this. Uh, Representatives and direct taxes shall be apportioned among the several states, which may include within this union, according to their respective number, which shall be determined by adding the whole number of free persons, including those bound to service for a term of years, and excluding Indians not taxed, three-fifths of all persons. Okay, so modern day, we just gonna erase history, erase the fact that they counted their slaves as three-fifths to their numbers. So if you got two slaves for um, every two slaves, was it two slaves? Let me see. Let me add this up. Let me see how many you can add to your number from having slaves. I'm pulling out the calculator. I don't feel like trying to do math in my head again. Okay, so we got three-fifths. So 3.5 plus 5. Okay. All right. So then let's add 6. So a three-fifth is point 0.6. You add another 4 to that point 0.6, you got one whole. So if you got two slaves, you got 1.2, right? So if you add 4 on, you got 2.4. So the more slaves you have, the more numbers you can count. So for two slaves, you're getting 1.5. Three slaves, you're gonna get. I mean, four slaves, you're gonna get 3. Right? You're counting 3 people for 4 people. But still, the point is, it's not about whether they were human or not. Of course they were, because that went on for a long time too. With me growing up with hearing people say that, well, they said we were only three-fifths of a human. That's not even in there. That's not in the Constitution. It doesn't say nothing about three-fifths of a human. It's talking about counting people for representatives, but only taxpayers could be counted as a whole because they're being represented. Why would we want to be counted as a whole when they're not representing us anyway? So they were counted as three-fifths. That means they were counted as point 0.6 of a whole. And if you got two of them, then you got 1.2, one whole and a half, or 0.2. And then you add more and you add more and you add more. And the more slaves you have, the more people you have representing your interests. So in this section here, it says, oh, sorry, I'm reading the wrong book. All right, I got several books here I want to read some stuff out of, not the whole thing. All right, so then it says that in the previous section, we can see that the word including has been changed to excluding in our current version of the Constitution. The 1883 version makes more sense. The Southern representation in Congress and the House of Representatives dominated the majority since slaves were counted toward their population. Since they were not able to consent to anything or speak for themselves, they were protected under the Constitution. They could not vote, but they were counted as part of society and their numbers went into the population count. Therefore, Southern plantation owners were ruling the country by vote because each slave was counted as a person. Essentially, two slaves made up 1.2 persons and four slaves made up 2.4 persons. If you had a lot of slaves which were heavily favored in the South, then your contribution to the population generated more representatives in Washington. Representatives who would cater to your interests, since you had supported their election in the first place, and since your slaves had helped put them in office, those representatives would try to keep their place in office by consenting to what wealthy plantation owners wanted, therefore preserving the cycle of exploitation. The system was unfair, unbalanced, and too lucrative to let go of. Southern plantations made a killing off of slavery. Southerners were supposed to be using a moral compass when dealing with slaves. I believe the compass was broken. I would like to make a very important side note here. There are very there were many people in America with brown and black skin who never endured slavery at all, or were merely indentured for a short period of time. Upon release, these indentured people were given the same supplies as white Europeans upon release from servitude. They might be given a musket, food, clothing, or even a piece of land. So, who were these black and brown folks? Okay, we're not getting into that. That's something totally different. Just wanted to read that Constitution part. All right, so get that book. You can get it at Barnes and Noble, Dorrance Publishing, Amazon, Google Books, and where all ebooks and audiobooks are sold. Okay, so again, I'm going to read the copy that I got out of the old book, out of the old 1883 version of the Constitution. I made a copy out of it, so I got like a 6 foot scroll here I gotta read because I put the whole thing in there. And so it says at the top, um, I copied the whole Constitution out of that encyclopedia. Article 1, this is the very top of it. Article 1, Section 2. No person, no person shall be a representative who shall not have attained to the age of 21 or 25 years and been 7 years a citizen of the United States, and who shall not, when elected, be an inhabitant of that state in which he shall be chosen. Excuse me. And who shall not, when elected, be an inhabitant of that state in which he shall be chosen. Representatives and direct taxes shall be apportioned among the several states, which may be included within the Union according to their respective number, which shall be determined by adding the whole number of free persons, including those bound to service for a term of years, and including Indians not taxed, 3/5 of all other persons. Okay, then we'll go down to where the 14th Amendment is, where they changed that, not counting them as 3/5, but counting them as a whole person. It says, now, why would you even need to count them if you exclude them? You might as well just erase that whole section. All persons born or naturalized. Okay. Representatives shall be apportioned. This is the 14th Amendment, Section 1. Excuse me, Section 2. So it changes to Section 2, the jurisdiction of slavery, from the first Constitution, where they have them in there and they're counting them as 3/5. Well, they changed that because they're no longer in servitude for life to include them as whole persons. 14th Amendment, Section 2, representatives shall be apportioned among the several states according to their respective numbers, counting the whole number of persons in each state. Now, it didn't say, right here, it didn't say whole number of free persons, right, including those bound to service for a term of years, because we're no longer in slavery. They got rid of that with the 13th Amendment. It says, counting the whole number of persons in each state, including Indians not taxed. That's the new way it was supposed to read, not excluding Indians. Okay. And then let me show you what I found on the Library of Congress. I'm glad that I saved it because I tried to go back and find it again and cannot. I put in the exact same words and the same thing did not pop up. So the book that I got, so comparing the 1883 version, which I just read, which says including Indians not taxed, the one I got from the Barnes and Noble store, the 14th Amendment, Section 2, representatives shall be apportioned among the several states according to their respective number, counting the whole number of persons in each state, excluding the Indians not taxed. But when the right to vote for, so anyway, excluding the Indians again. Now I want to show something on the Library of Congress website, like where they have a little section called extracted text, and they extracted it and replaced it with, it's really only changing 2 letters of a whole word, because including and excluding are spelled exactly the same with the exception of the first 2 letters. So Library of Congress's National Archives catalog. The joint resolution proposing the 14th Amendment to the United States. So this is the original cursive. Let's see if I can make this bigger. Yeah, I can. I want it down here though. Okay. Okay. So the part that I am talking about, see, this won't let me go down. It's right here. According to their respective numbers, counting the whole number of free persons. Wait, let me close this so I can see it. A whole number of persons in each state. Now, right here is supposed to be including Indians. Now, let me make this. Let me see if I can make it bigger. Nah. Okay. So, how I know that this is supposed to be including Indians is because of the 130, 40-year-old book that I got the Constitution out of, that scroll Constitution that I copied out of there. And so I looked at this and I thought, well, how did they get this X right here? Somebody had to done. See, if you look around, it looks like there's a lot of corrections, right? Let's look at this. You see that I right there? Look how that I is way up here instead of down here. Okay, so now this right here says extracted text. Now this will tell you the text. They couldn't understand what it was saying, so they just assumed it was saying this. I guess that's what this means, right? So let's look at this. Okay, so a lot of the things were taken out because they didn't, this was done more recent than this. So this one right here is a more recent, um, uh, like a understanding or trying to define what they were saying by removing things. I mean, anyway. So anyway, they removed some stuff, a lot of stuff, as you can see. But what I want to show is right. Um, it's up a little bit. Yeah. Okay. Section slant. All no born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States, wherein they reside. Okay. That's not it. It's up here. Sorry, y'all. Um, following article ratified by 3-4. Where is it? Okay. Representatives shall be. Okay, so this is supposed to be apportioned among the several states according to their respective number, counting the whole. Me never. Okay, whatever. All right. It says in each, this is supposed to be state, including Indians not layered. Now, they removed that whole line and then added, this is still including to me somehow, because if you say to me, this is an I, right? This is an I, it's not opened at all. And then the E's are a little bit slanted to the side. The I's go kind of straight up, the E's slant. Okay, so we have an I and or E and an X supposedly. But over here it says that they removed the including the E and the X right here, not Indians not layered. This says including Indians not. Now, I don't know how they got layered out of this right here. This is clearly a T crossing that right there, and this is clearly an X. So why would you need to remove that? You wouldn't need to remove that. But you would remove this whole thing, right, and change it. It's supposed to be including Indians not taxed. Okay, so that was extracted. These are extracted texts. Why would they extract them? Let's see. Optical character recognition. So basically, when they looked at it, oh, well, this don't look like it's saying this or that. Maybe this is what it means. Okay, well, they put Indians not taxed back in there. That's in the version of the new version that I bought from the Barnes and Noble store. But this word right here, these two letters have been changed. It's supposed to be including. Because as I was stating earlier in the video, If it said excluding Indians, not tax, then you wouldn't be able to count those people as your three-fifths. The Indians that were on reservations were not written in the Constitution. They were not a part of America. They weren't even under the jurisdiction of the United States. Now, they might have been still controlled by the United States, but saying that they're not under the jurisdiction of the United States, yes, they are, because they're getting checks. They get money from the government, so they're under some kind of jurisdiction. They're getting monthly payments. So anyway, that's that. I think this is why, like, if you come into the White House anytime after this was changed and you see it says excluding the Indians, well, then you're going to exclude the Negroes. Oh, well, you got to count them. They don't count. And every president after that, they all did the same thing. They allowed every state to take away our rights. So if they can take away our rights, what makes you think they can't take away yours? I mean, what would make you think that our brown skin, as opposed to other brown skins around the world, is any different? That, oh, it's just the Negroes that they're going to take the rights from. Well, y'all got to answer to the Most High God, whoever it is that's doing it. And I'm not talking about everybody. Don't get worked up. Okay, I'm just talking about those that are doing it. So they got to answer to the Most High, because when God says that He commands a nation to do something, they don't do it, they get destroyed. And they haven't done any of it. And the Bible says they wouldn't do it. They're not going to give you nothing back. They're not going to admit they did nothing wrong. They're going to keep on going until God come and destroy them like He did everybody else. When the only people that repented and changed was Nineveh. Everybody else said, we doing what we want to do. And they did. And they got what they're supposed to get. That's just the way it works. So anyway, and it's really strange how this looks like an EX. You see, that's a pretty fat, dark spot right there on that X. Let's see if we can find another X. Okay, here's one that's kinda the same, but I don't know, some fishy stuff going on here. Fishy. All right, thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Have a good day.